Hey, Lisa Leitner here from adayinourshoes.com. Thank you for watching this video. I just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about Section 504 plans. And I can see now that depending on how I look at you, all you see is my computer screen and my glasses. Sorry, I need them to see. Okay, back to 504 plans. I wanted to talk about 504 plans because lately I've been starting to hate them. And I don't hate them. For the right child, when they're written well and when they're followed, they're amazing because they enable a child to access their education. The problem is too many schools are using them as like an IEP Lite or a pre-IEP or, well, let's just try a 504 first before an IEP. And that is not at all what they are designed to do. And it's a cost-saving measure, it's a time-saving measure, and it's being used, overused, and abused to the detriment of too many students. And in particular, I'm seeing it extremely overused with our kids who have dyslexia and other reading disabilities. Because here's the thing. A Section 504 plan is all about accommodations. That's all it is. It's accommodations. It is not special education. Your child will be a child, if you have a 504, your child will be a child who is identified as a person with a disability. Therefore, they are in a protected class. So they are afforded the protections of, say, the disciplinary procedures, okay? Some of the disciplinary procedures. When you have a 504, you are identified as a person with a disability, and that's a protected class in this country. However, they are not in special education. They are still only gen ed students with some accommodations. And a 504 is never, ever, ever going to teach a child how to read. Giving a child preferential seating does not teach them how to read. Giving a child extra time on homework and tests is not going to teach them how to read. Okay, giving a child shorter assignments, different assignments, the teacher notes before class, after class, the teacher's lecture notes, all of those accommodations are not going to teach a child how to read. Ever. If your child has a reading disability, they need specific interventions for their type of reading disability that explicitly teaches them how to read. An extra time on a test is not ever going to do that. Okay? This is a huge problem nationwide that we have a ton of kids with these learning disabilities who need specific interventions. They need to be taught in a different way than sitting in a class of 20 or 25 kids and being taught with the entire group. That is not working for them. And giving them 3 extra days on the homework isn't ever going to fix that. So, if you've asked for IEP or special education evaluations and you've been turned down and your team said, well, we're going to try RTI or we're going to try 504 instead. If you disagree with that, okay, thank you very much for your decision. I would like to receive that decision on a PWN as I am entitled to. And that means they have to write down for you on a PWN form why they've denied these evaluations. And then you get to decide from there how you're going to pursue this. Another thing that you could pursue, of course, is an IEE, which is an independent education evaluation. I have a lot of information on the blog about them if you just do a search on it. Okay, I'm getting beyond 5 minutes, and I didn't really want to be more than 5 minutes because I don't want you to tune out. But back to 504s. 504s are about accessing education. Okay, so if your child, like, let's say your child has, I'm just going to use an example, a child has no learning disabilities whatsoever. Cognitively, they're normal as all their peers. The problem is they've been in a car accident, so they are, disabled or, cannot use from the waist down. They need to use a wheelchair. That child would likely have a 504 because they need accommodations to access their education. And those accommodations would likely be a special van that can use a wheelchair. And it would likely mean a key to the elevator to access the school building and so on. It's accommodations. It's not teaching. Nobody is going to give that child special education because they don't need it, if that makes sense. So if your child, and some kids with learning disabilities, some maybe just really struggle with organization and executive functioning skills and can do it. But too many kids need direct instruction. If a child lacks a skill, you either teach them the skill or you give them accommodations for not having the skill. So if you don't have the skill to walk up and down a flight of stairs, the accommodation is that you get the elevator key. But if the skill that you lack is reading, accommodations are not going to teach you how to read. Interventions and direct instruction is what's going to teach you how to read. Okay, so you also can accommodate for the lack of skill while you're teaching the skill, but you have to do one or the other. Skills don't magically appear. If a child lacks a skill, you either teach it or accommodate for the lack of the skill. Pick one or the other. And again, I just see 504s being so overused as an IEP Lite, as I call them, and that is not what they are intended to do. If your child lacks social skills, they need social skill instruction. I don't know why we have this huge increase of issues in our schools today. Well, I think I know. I could rant about that forever. But I know that we have more kids requiring special education, and I know that our schools are doing more with less. Their funding is constantly being cut. Even though it's being increased in dollars, the percentages aren't holding up, if that makes sense, because we have more kids, or the costs of special education have risen, like in Pennsylvania, the cost of special ed has risen 30% in the past several years, but state funding has only increased 4%. So dollar for dollar, it looks like, oh yeah, they're adding more money, but they're really not. And the schools are doing more with less, and I get that, and I empathize with that. However, don't fight me for the money. It's not my problem, my fault that schools don't have money. So don't take it out on my kid. I'm going to be the squeaky wheel and make sure that my kid gets what they need. And we need to partner together to work with our legislators to get appropriate funding. But in the meantime, do not accept a 504 if your child needs an IEP. Keep pushing, keep fighting, because this wait and see just means the gap is just going to widen. Wait and see means let's just wait and see and watch it get worse, because that's what happens. Okay, I'm starting to rant a little bit, and I've gone over 9 minutes, which I didn't want to do. But stay safe, stay healthy, and I have a ton of information on the blog about 504 plans and how to get one and what is one, and understanding the differences between a 504 and an IEP, because there are many differences which you need to understand before you accept one, and so on. 504s are great for the kids who need them and for whom they are appropriate. The problem is that they're being overused. Okay, Check out my store at adayinourshoes.com/store. The IEP podcast is called Don't IEP Alone, and it's on all major podcast providers. And I hope to see you soon.